Good morning and welcome to Second Cup, a mini devotional series hosted by the Pleasant Valley Church of Christ in Little Rock, Arkansas. And if you live in Central Arkansas and you don't have a church to call home, I would love to talk to you more about how this church family has supported me and loved my family over the years. So please feel free to message me if you'd like more information. So I've attended Pleasant Valley for about 15 years and I've been on staff for the last 2. And my very favorite part of this job is getting to sit down with a minister or a member and hear about how they're using their passions to serve God and really change lives around them. Anywhere from feeding the hungry to clothing the homeless to supporting first responders in this season to mentoring, fostering, adopting, prison reentry. So many inspiring ideas and touching stories that I get to hear and then relay those to the church. And I love this process. 1, because as John Krasinski has showed us, good news is really fun. And 2, because these people are filled with a joy and their joy is contagious. Throughout the Bible and early Christian history, there are so many examples of God's people having this same unexplainable joy and confidence. When they're facing a giant or a strong army, when they're in prison or up against persecution and plagues, during times of great hardship, Jesus' followers who have found their purpose just have a spark that is contagious and that draws people in because it is lasting. This joy comes from knowing that God is in control, that God is good, and that we are partnering with Him to change the world around us for the better. Because God created each one of us with different passions and interests and talents and a desire to find a purpose beyond ourselves. Sometimes we all try to fulfill that desire with work or busyness or hobbies, but the satisfaction that comes from those pursuits rarely lasts. A good friend reminded me that C.S. Lewis said our desires are not too strong for us to be content, but they're too weak. Lewis says that we are far too easily pleased, and I think he is right on target. But when we partner with God and use the passions and gifts that He's given us, when we follow Him into sacrificial giving, into loving and serving our neighbors, we find out that His plans for our lives are infinitely better than we could have imagined or planned on our own. I'm definitely not knocking recreational activities or having fun, but I do think most of us, if we're honest, can fall into the tendency to focus a little too much on the things that are temporary. When we do this, we run out of space in our lives for the things that last, and we end up feeling empty and without purpose. But when our passions and talents are working in alignment with God, our joy becomes a lasting part of who we are. Now, I know in this season, joy can be a little harder to come by, but there are still real ways and safe ways to put your creativity and talents and passions to work. There are really awesome things happening all over this city. I'll put a few links in the comments below for jumping off points from Pleasant Valley, but there are just so many groups making a difference right now all over our city. And then as we begin to open back up, and already you're probably getting calls from teams, activities, clubs, and companies who want you to jump back into life as it was. But I want to encourage you this morning to take a minute and pause and make sure you are using your yeses wisely and that you're leaving space on your calendar for the things that last and make a lasting impact on the people that God has put on your heart and in your life. So thanks so much for hanging out with me this morning, and I hope that you have a wonderful day and that you feel the joy of the Lord all week.